Tony, so when you heard the news, what did you think? Is it the right time for him to retire?
Well, historically, and having been through this myself, Marty, it's one of the hardest calls you have to make when you're looking at a career that you've known for so long, and all of a sudden, that not only that career, but that salary, you're making a decision to sort of give it all up. And I don't think it would have happened overnight. I would think he's taken this whole year to make that decision, given the fact that he had the West Tigers and the Sydney City Roosters chasing him too. He's come out and said that himself. So I think he's known all along it was possibly his final year, and I think it's fitting that he gets one last home game to run out in front of his home crowd before he says goodbye for good.
Yeah, and how should he be remembered? Should he be remembered as a guy that brought smiles to people's faces? It was an excitement machine when he was on, or was there something in the back of your mind that always wonders, could he have been a lot better and more consistent than he was?
Oh, I think the latter's a given, Marty. Like, he didn't win a premiership, but he's got to go down, I guess, in the same sort of category as a Stacey Jones does for the Warriors. Even though Stacey didn't leave the Warriors until the back end of his career before he did over the Catalan Dragons in France. Shaun left probably in his prime to go to Cronulla for 3 years. So when you're saying what sort of legacy does he leave, I don't think he's that far off Stacey Jones. I still think Stacey's probably the premier halfback that we've had at the Warriors. But when it comes down to what he's left, he's left a legacy of kids between the years of 2010 and 2024 that, he's run around like a Benji Marshall and a Stacey Jones and now kids wanting to be Shaun Johnson. And I think when you've achieved that, you should be thought as one of the greats that have played for the Warriors.
Yeah, and it's important also to realise that there are some players that even though they're brilliant at times and brilliant in flashes, it's okay to be that, isn't it? I mean, I look at the big O, and the O wasn't, amazingly consistent, but when he was playing at his very best, he was the very best.
Yeah, there's categories in there, Marty. When you're playing international football, when you're playing State of Origin, when you're playing NRL, you're a good player. You know what I mean? You go down as a good player, but when you're doing it consistently in those three levels, year on, year out, and then you add winning competitions, like what Andrew Johns did, like what Jonathan Thurston did, Cooper Cronk, the Cameron Smiths and that, then you become great players. And that's the question is, was he a good player or was he a great player? And I think he would have been a great player if he could have added some competitions to his name, Shaun. And I still think, we've had some great halfbacks play for New Zealand. You go back in my day, back to Gordon Smith and Shane Varley, Clayton Friend,
Gary
those
Freeman.
type of halfbacks, and Gary Freeman and Shaun Johnson and Stacey Jones are probably, a couple of names that probably top those guys, just for what they've done in the current game. And I wouldn't put him in the category of Andrew Johns or Jonathan Thurston, but I think he was a stone's throw away from being that good.
14 years in the NRL. I mean, you played professional league yourself. I mean, how much does that take its toll on especially the position he plays, and especially that he's not a huge man?
Well, injuries played a part. I think when he done his ankle, it took him a long time to recover from that, not just physically but emotionally. And playing at this level, especially how quick and robust players are these days, I think he's done well to hang on till his 34th birthday. And those guys like Cherry Evans, Kieran Foran that are still running around and defying odds, it will take a toll on their bodies later on in life. But for what he's been able to pull through injury wise and still get the amount of games under his belt, and in a position, Marty, you've got to remember, like he's been in a position under immense pressure at a club that has thrived to win a competition, and doing what he's done in those 14 years, he's probably had 14 coaches, to be brutally honest.
Yeah, right.
So he's done well mentally to hold things together. Now, I'll never forget, I had a conversation with him when Matty Elliott started telling telling Shaun Johnson that it was all up to him to go out there and win games, putting pressure on such a young kid when he had that side, and it was just an unfair comment to make. And I just think unfortunate for Shaun that he didn't get to work with a Wayne Bennett or Craig Bellamy, where they had a really solid unit of players around them that Shaun added to that unit, as opposed to him having to work with every different coach and Shaun being the catalyst to try and win a competition. I just think they had that wrong.